nice, it's a nice team to work with. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be here. Ask me in another month.
At the end of the season.
Yeah.
The risk now is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The costs are just spiralling every year. Cost of running machinery now, it's phenomenal. But you just look at the machine, well, if you can get another 20-30 acres out of the same machine, you're covering the same fixed costs. But if you can get a little bit more out of that machine, it is just finding that sweet spot of the right amount of area than rather trying to overstretch yourself, and then you can't get around everything. So cost of replacing a harvester or any sort of potato kit now, it's frightening, and it doesn't hold the residual value potato kit as much because it's such a small market.
Right, Martin, well, we've been out with you boys this week. Just tell us, whereabouts are we and what do you do here?
Right, yeah, we're in the little village of Enville, so we're sort of right on the border of South Staffordshire and Shropshire, about 10 miles outside of Bridgnorth, and we are arable. Used to have livestock, used to have quite a few pigs. I haven't had any livestock for probably 20 years now. So we're just potatoes, cereals and stewardship.
What sort of acreage of spuds are you growing nowadays then?
Round 240, something like that.
Has that changed over the years?
Yeah, it's slowly gone up and up, the last 4 or 5 years. Just as grounds come available or, spoke to people, we've slowly increased it, yeah.
How long has your family been in the potato job then?
Oh, now you're asking. Probably at least since the 70s anyway. We always used to grow few acres, say I think it used to be about 40 acres of potatoes, 40 acres sugar beet, and then we grew 80s and 90s. Early 90s I think we stopped. Then I came home from college and we started growing a few again and sort of gone from there really.
How has it changed over the years, Martin?
You can say in some respects it's got easier with technology, with being able to, the machines do a lot more for you, but then on other things it's got harder, but that's probably more the the actual political side of things, and what you've got to do. So it's just changing every year is different.
So talking machinery then, you mainly run Massey Ferguson tractors?
Yeah.
What's the reason for that then?
Got on all right with them. We probably run Masseys since the 80s, I'd have thought. And it works well that several of the neighbours run the same. So, we've worked, when you're working with other people, jumping off one machine onto another, they're all the same. So we've always got on well with the dealers. So so we've run them, since sometime in the 80s probably. We got a 6499, two 7726s and 8737.
So the 64 on the plant would be the oldest tractor you're running now?
I think
then?
it's an 11 plate, that one is, yeah.
What sort of stage do you take them to then? At what point does it get right, now it's time to change?
Well, it varies, it really does vary, but probably especially in the last couple of 3 years that we have expanded the acreage, we always used to run 3 tractors. So like the last, not the H7, the one before, we actually then didn't trade one in, so we went to 4 tractors. Every time you buy one, you always seem to buy a slightly bigger one, and then we went for that one because because the bed tiller, the double bed tiller, it was on this one actually, and it which handled it fine, but it was on days where you wanted to get on a bit, it hadn't quite got the power. It was sort of on its knees basically. That one came up, it was the right money. We got an old 6490 that was getting a bit long in the tooth, so we decided to make the change. So but it all depends. There is no set policy. There's no set policy on the old farm, I don't think, but on that job it's just you just get a feeling when something's, if a tractor's costing you money and whatever, then you'll look to change it, but there's no set policy at all. Talking destoner then? Standard, yeah, it's good. It's got the capacity. We have this year taken, it's a starred machine, so we've taken we had infill rings on all the stars, and we've taken a good half of them out. So we are leaving a slightly, probably cloddier seabed maybe with a few more stones, but the grader can deal with that. But it has meant we've been able to get on, push the forward speed a bit more. Planter we've run, we got a structural, bought it new 4 years ago, I think. And we had one before, and there are conditions you can get on with it. It's probably not as accurate as a cut planter, but you can do 7 or 8k quite comfortably with it.
How is that machine different to your previous planter?
Principle's the same. I mean, 30 years old ones, similar principle. It's just like most things these days, it's got more technology on it. So some of the bits and pieces that you used to have to get off with the old one to alter manually, you can do it all from the cab now in the box. So just it makes life easier and speeds the process up.
You said about the Hillmaster as well?
Yeah, it's got, yeah, which the other one hasn't got, and we've got, just where we are around here, there's quite undulating ground. So yeah, this one's got the Hillmaster on it. It's got better steering on it as well. Just makes the operator's life a lot easier. So you can sort of deal with slopier ground than we could with the old one.
So does everyone here sort of stick to their jobs in planting season then, or do you swap and change around a bit?
Flexible. I'm normally the go for dog's body, ferrying seed and doing whatever. But yeah, Robert drives a destoner. He pretty much sticks to that. But Charlie, who's on the planter today, he's joined us. He's not full time, but he does about 3 or 4 days a week. Works with a neighbouring farm, so he's come in. He's sort of learning the planter at the moment. The idea is to try and be as flexible as we can. So if somebody can't come in, because I do use quite a bit of sort of I won't say casual labour, because they can be casual at times. But so we haven't got any full time labour. So sometimes you can be sort of struggling a bit for staff. If everybody can do a different job, it just makes life easier.
So you're still a believer in the traditional planting methods then?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it just suits our system. We've got a lot of variable ground. We can go from clay to sand to stone. Just around here, every field's different. I'm not ruling out any changes in the future, but just the way, I mean, our grader can deal with quite a bit of rubbish. Yeah, it suits our system at the moment, but yeah, you never rule anything out.
You're dealing with quite a few different soil types then?
Yeah, we can go from, even in the same field, you can go from sand to clay. So we get a lot of stone content in places, and then where they're planting today, hardly any stone at all. So yeah, fields where they are today, it would suit it. Other fields, it's just the stone content. 70% is other people's land, 30% our own.
How does that work with other farmers then?
Don't know, ask them sometimes. But yeah, no, it works well, I think. Probably for them it's another break crop. And for us it sort of spreads our risk a bit, so we can have a bit earlier ground on higher ground. We're just where we farm at home, we're in a bit of a frost pocket here, so if there's a late frost we'll cop it here, whereas you can go 5 miles up the road, a bit high ground, and you don't get it. Just gives us a bit more flexibility. Then on the downside is you're not your own master. Sometimes you can sort of be up on ground, down on ground. We find it works okay.
What varieties are you growing, Martin?
Probably too many really, but we starting with Premier, Daisy, then we go Royal, with just a new variety this year, Caribou Russet. We got some King Russets, and we got some Innovator. Quite a spread, but then we will start digging in July, and we'll go right the way through till we'd like to get tidied up in October, but it doesn't always work with the weather. Everything we grow goes into McCain's. Certain varieties are going into the McDonald's. We grow 2 or 3 McDonald's varieties, and then and the rest they're purely going to McCain's, and then whatever product they're making on the day is what they go into. We very rarely you get to know exactly where your finished product's going to end up, but we've been with them for quite a number of years now, and just like to keep things simple. So just having one customer for us just makes life easy. So
is there a certain variety that works best for you, or works best in a certain soil type here, or how does it sort of work?
Yeah, I think that's probably why we got a bit of a spread of varieties. Is you do find some years you'll get one variety does well, and the following year it doesn't do as well. So just trying to spread the risk a bit, and then we got some different soil types suit different varieties better. And again, when you're not in control of the land, so you don't quite know what land you've got from year to year, having a spread of varieties helps just mix things up sometimes. So but yeah, there's no sort of rhyme or reason to it. It's just I just feel it suits the varying soil types and climates that we've got around here.
Obviously, Martin, with you growing potatoes on other people's ground, you wouldn't always have access to irrigation.
No, probably I would think we can irrigate at home, and then we can irrigate on probably, it varies every year, but massive risk growing non-irrigated. But then the cost of irrigation is phenomenal, and if the talk with diesel, if all of a sudden we've got to put white diesel in pumps and things like that, it'll get even more expensive. So there's a lot of work involved in irrigating, and you can get a lot high yield. We do have years where our non-irrigated will outdo the irrigated, because we're probably paying slightly lower rents on non-irrigated land. Generally find sometimes it hasn't been as heavily cropped with potatoes, so we're not having to use the applicator on the planter as much, and just the cost of irrigating is very, very high, labour intensive, fuel. But then it's a cover for when you get a real dry year. At least you know half your acreage you should be getting contract yields.
You mentioned the applicator on the planter, Martin. What exactly does that do?
It's a Technete liquid applicator, so we're using that to put down a liquid nematicide. It can use, there's a clean water tank and then 2 chemical tanks, so we can put one product, or we're using Amistar in the other side for soil-borne rhizoctonia, so we can use one or the other or both, was the idea of having the 2 separate dosatrons on there, and it works very well. The one product is for PCN, it's for nematodes in the soil basically, so which you get in ground that's been potatoed for over a number of years, so there's certain nematodes that build up in the soil, so that's why we try. Again, that's another reason for trying to get in more rented land, is to spread the rotation at home out wider. Cost wise, ethically wise, I'd rather be using less chemicals to grow them, so the bigger gap we can leave between crops, generally you find the healthier the potato.
Just talk us through the whole process then, Martin. How are you prepping ground? What cultivations are you doing beforehand?
Right, well, we haven't ploughed in front of potatoes for probably 20 years now, so we're going in, we'll try and spray the crop off, whatever is we're sort of faced with. We do get a bit of grass, a lot of livestock in the area, so and more cover crops now people are putting in. So probably 15 years ago we were going into a lot of bare stubbles, whereas now we're getting a lot more organic matter in front of us. So we'll go in with this. We've got a 4-metre shakerator which will go through. Lighter land will go through once. The heavier land, if it's pretty hard going, we'll go twice, sort of at different angles to try and break it up, and then through with the bed former if it needs it, bed tiller, and then the destoner and the planter. So fairly simple system.
At what point does it need a bed tiller? You don't use that for every?
Not for everything, no. It's a very expensive operation, so if we can get away with it, we won't use it. But there are certain circumstances, as in, like, I've got a field tomorrow, we're going to a field which has been grass. It's been rotivated, but it's a very thick sward of grass, so we have rotivated, but probably we might end up going through with a bed tiller again, just to speed up the destoner basically. We had a field last week was the same. We could have got away. It had been sheep. They'd had sheep grazing on stubble turnips over winter. Quite a light field, but it had just packed the top down a bit, and we were just getting a lot of clod coming up, which we could have dealt with, but it just speeded the destoner up. So and you get a lot more. What you don't need at planting is a variable depth in the bed. So if you get a lot of rubbish in one end of the field and not as much in the other, it's very hard to set the planter up to get the right depth. We'll use it, as least as we can, but it's surprising how much you do end up using it. We've always been solid fertiliser, so we'll test. Again, when a lot of it's rented in ground, you don't quite know what you're going to be up against on the P's and K's fronts. So we'll sample every field, then we get the results back, and it'll you get results on your phosphate and potash and magnesium. So then in conjunction with the agronomist, we'll go through each field, and then some fields it'll all be solid. We put on potash, phosphate through the fert spinner, and then we don't place any fertiliser with the planter. Historically, we've always gone in front with nitrogen through the fert spinner, but we changed the sprayer last year, so we've gone to 36 metre tramlines now. We sometimes find that when we're spreading prills, it's close to the mark trying to spread 36 metres on nitrogen, and especially on the potato front is sometimes if it's a pretty windy day, we've got to get on because we need that next field to plant. So we've gone over to liquid now because the new sprayer got twin line on it. So and that's, well, we've only just started in the last few weeks, but at the moment it's a bit of a learning curve. But it's a lot more accurate, and we are finding it's a lot easier. It frees another tractor up. We always seem to be short of a tractor to put on the fert spin. You've always got to drop something off to put the fert spinner on and then go and spread. So somebody can just jump on the sprayer now and go and and put the liquid fert on, sort of ahead of the planter then. After the planting season we had, not last year, the year before, where we got all the seed delivered in March, and then the weather just turned against us, and then by the time we got planting, some of the seed, because it warmed up and it'd been out in sheds, we were trying to blow air through them, but they just went off basically in the boxes, because they come in bags, and then we transfer them into ton boxes, and they was just a nightmare to plant. The chits had got so long, they started growing roots, they were matted together. Definitely affected planting big time, and affected yield, because some varieties, especially the early ones, had lost a lot of vigour. So it was about this time last year. It cost a bit of money, but we put a chiller in there in the shed now, so we can hold probably 250 tonnes, I think it is, of seed. So we can hold it at 2.5 degrees now. So basically it means we can get our seed earlier, in sort of January, February time. So because sometimes you'll have seed delivered. You basically try and get your seed delivered at planting, which is when everybody else wants it. So you're waiting for seed, whereas now we can get it a bit earlier, and we can look after it. So it's basically we planted it. We could have the seed for 2 months on the farm, and it's coming out the boxes now like the day it was delivered. So it costs quite a bit to run it, but it definitely pays. Definitely the crops are coming through the ground a lot more even now, whereas beforehand you'd knock one chit off and that spud would just sit there, whereas another one didn't get knocked off, but that could be through the ground in sort of 10 days. So we're getting a lot of uneven emergence. So the chiller has made life an awful lot easier, and we've got a bank of solar panels, 50 kVA solar panels, so sort of a day like today the chillers are running flat out, but they're running it. So you've only really got the cost of running it at night, and generally if it's a bit cooler at night the chiller's not on as often anyway, so it is quite cost effective.
Well, cheers for having us out, Martin. Anyway, we'll pop down and go and annoy Rob now for an hour
that's
or
it. He's had his haircut
and,
specially,
and get in his way instead.
Yeah, get in his way. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Tom.
Well, Rob, we've come to see how the professionals do it.
Come to the wrong place there then.
How long have you been destoner driving for?
I think this is my 5th season.
And how do you find it?
Different days, vary, but it's steady number. Get you out and about, see different places.
Have you done much like this before you came here, or?
No. First time I've had anything to do with spuds at all, really.
What do you think of the spud game then?
Different, expensive.
Long hours?
But long hours, short period of time, really, so fits in nice with my other work, so nice to have a break.
So how's this season going for you then so far?
So far, very nicely.
It's quite a nice surprise to actually have sunshine in March, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. First day of spring,
years.
and look at it. No, the fields we've done so far have been relatively light fields, so gone through the machine fairly nice. This one's been a bit tricky because there was a scramble track in there, so a lot of undulations within it, and material bunched up in certain areas which catch you out, as you've seen a couple of times.
I've seen all of a sudden it's all come at once.
Yeah, and then you're blocked. So it's not ideal to try and keep a level bed for the plant to come through after. But, it's better over this side than it has been over the far side. So doing an average of 0.6 hectares an hour, 0.5 to 6 hectares an hour, so not too bad going.
Is that quite good going for?
Yeah, not bad really. We're running at 3.2k at the moment. It varies a bit because the sensor for the speed is pretty much down where the bed is.
Okay,
before we hit it, so you get a bit of movement of soil coming off the bed as you go along. But it's round about that and uphill because you're throwing everything backwards on that angle. If you try and go too quick, you just block up anyway, so may as well just stick at a steady pace. Downhill, you can push on a little bit quicker.
You got up to quite a good speed earlier.
Yeah, it's gone nice today. Yesterday was better because we've gone through with the bed tiller, and field we were in back over Clavely way, but bed tillers are expensive to run, so...
Tell us a bit about this machine behind us then, Rob.
It basically separates the stuff you don't want in the bed with your spuds from what you do want in there, which is nice tilthy soil. That's a lot of soil going over there every minute. You don't sort of appreciate what it's actually doing within it to leave that bed like that, the other side.
Talk us through what you have to keep an eye on then, and what you have to do as destoner operator.
You got your cameras, a couple of cameras, one right on the back end, and then one sort of looking up the front. The best way of doing it is to see what's coming off the cross conveyor. It's actually going back into your trench, and you can see at the moment it's all aggregate. Your main thing is to try and go as fast as you can, but without blocking it up, and
So you have
leave
to
a
try and
nice
keep
bed.
the machine full then, I suppose.
Yeah, keep the front end full.
Do you have to sort of alter your depth as you sit on a rough terrain like this, up and down all the time?
It does alter itself here on that's your digger share there.
Right.
You can see it's just flicking between those two arrows, and then you got there's an analog depth there, which is 51, 52 mil in here. That can vary a little bit when you if the bed tiller's been through. So you can, you might just want to fetch it up a little bit more so you're not underneath where that's, where the rotors have been working. And then fetching the pan up because it just blocks you up straight away. And then you can speed, you've got your vary flow there. That's actually the web on the top, which is, going sort of clockwise anti-clockwise at the moment. You can flick it over on that button there so it can go the other way to hold stuff back a bit more, or if you've got a lot of turf hanging on there, I'll flick that round sometimes just to give it a bit more of a bashing, get your maximum soil out. And then you got your underweb agitator, which are your rollers underneath, which basically bounce the web to shake the soil out and
Breaks the clods up, I suppose.
Yeah, it helps break the clod up and get your most soil out. If you got nice easy going, you can turn that right back, but it's revved up probably 3 parts away around at the moment, so it's not far off flat out. And that's your cross conveyor, which is the stuff that actually puts your rubbish in the trench, and you can speed that up and calm it down as well, depending on how much stuff you got going over. Left it running fairly quick today because of these clumps that just appear, and you want to get it gone as fast as you can. And then you've got your axle steer there, so when you come to the ends, or if you've got to go around any obstacles like around the telegraph pole, you can just move the machine out of the way.
That's all manual then, is it? You control all that?
Try to.
You kept it in a straight line all day, you've been alright.
Hopefully hit the right button at the right time, but it'll go wrong now for sure.
I don't think the drone spotted you on any skew ifs today, Rob.
That's alright then, that's alright. You can come again. Cameras are good, as long as the sun's not in the way. Your own eyes actually watching what's going on at the machine are better. I just think you can react better, quicker, but it's nice to have a bit of a break. If you haven't got anything too nasty all the time in the field, you can drive it with those and try not to look at it too much so you don't drop asleep.
And what about maintenance on one of these machines then, Rob? Would you do most of it through the winter, or?
Yeah, daily maintenance. There's a few grease points on the PTO and that to do. The rest of it's, they're dry bearings. The back legs that the wheels sit on, pillars, they got grease points top and bottom. So it's a quick.
And what do you think of the old 7726 then, Rob?
Yeah,
You're a fan?
I like it. Again, I think it's what you get used to. It's a nice tractor to spend a long time in. Aircon, radio.
Happy days.
What more do you need, really? Sandwich box. But no, it's a nice tractor. Nice tractor to use.
What's it like for a job like this? What gearbox are you running? Dyna VT? What's that then?
It's hydrostatic. You fast, go fast, go slows, all on that stick, and your PTO's on there, so that makes it easier than having to hit a lever somewhere else. Everything's to hand, really. But no, it's
as long as you choose
nice
a good
tractor.
radio station, you should be fine.
Oh yeah. So we're on greatest hits now. I'll have to get something a bit louder towards the end of the day.
I bet this season's a godsend, isn't it? Because the last couple of years, I expect you've been
we're quite a bit earlier this
trying
year.
to de-stone bogs.
Yes, yeah. We have had a lucky start as well. It's been some nice lightish fields. We've got some heavy stuff to come across yet, so it'll case of being a bit more patient with speed. Then they're just a versatile machine. You just got to drive them in different manners, but you can, you know, play about with these controls just to get it all running better in different conditions. So
how does it handle the wet? Is there a certain point you can push it to, and then you no more?
I mean, you can get very nastily blocked, like the whole machine, and it's
sounds like you've been there before,
yeah,
Rob.
it's not very pleasant. Not with a little spade like that. So,
come on, Martin, he needs a bigger spade.
yeah, or just get light ground.
Right, well, cheers for having a chat with us, Rob.
Thank you very much for coming to see us.
We'll not disturb you for any longer today.
No problem.
We'll let you crack on.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers, Tom. Take care.